Right, so welcome back. You're still watching Good Morning Africa live on Pan African Television. My name is Kwame Owusu-Dan. So I'm overly excited this morning. I am over the moon. I am dancing in the rain because my lost and found brother is back. Super excited about it. The MP is in the house. Dr. Adomaku Kizi. MP for Anyasoto constituency. You know, back in the day, we used to say, oh, contesting to become... Now he's the MP. Yeah, he's the MP. Yes, now we have it. How are you, sir? I'm going to ask you a special question, but let me introduce our very own Al-Haji, Dr. Abubakar Mohammed Marzouk. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
I trust you're doing well. Okay, they are challenging me, Pa, with this your shadow.
But I believe I cannot challenge.
Oh, no, you can't.
You are a synonym of fashion.
Yeah. And our own indefatigable Dr. Rashid Hassan Pelpo is also here. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
I trust you're well.
I'm doing well.
You know, I saw a post on Facebook and somebody says, the person said that it is a dream come true to stand beside Dr. Rashid Pelpo and take a picture. Yeah. Nice. The person didn't tag you because you're not friends. So,
okay.
So it appears that, you know, it's a blessing, always. Doc! No, I mean, 3 doctors, but the newest MP. See, how is it? How is it like? I mean, how is the feeling like?
Oh, Kwame.
Yeah, how is the feeling? I just want to know. Want to know how the feeling is like for you.
Well, first of all,
after all these years, and then finally you get it. You know, I just want to know how.
Yeah, it's a wonderful feeling.
Right.
And you know, once again, more importantly, thanks to all those who voted for me, and thanks to all those who made a lot of noise, including your very good self.
And your face here.
I know. And everybody.
This man actually changed his vote from one constituency to another.
I know.
He tried or he did?
He did.
Really?
Yeah, he changed. I went to vote for.
So I managed to.
Yeah.
So you went to vote for MPP?
My own friend.
I like that.
My own friend.
How are we even not sure that Dr. Rashid Pelpo sent some people to go and vote for him?
Perhaps who voted for MPP.
Oh,
yeah. So it's nice. I thought I had been here already, but I guess this
is a proper one.
Yeah.
Because this one now you are in Parliament. The other one was MP. How did they even say? Elect. And now you are MP, proper MP.
Thank you. So,
but it's a great feeling.
Yeah, and I'm happy to be here.
And congratulations once more.
Yeah,
we are very, very proud of you. Very, very proud of you.
Yeah.
Okay, so 45 died during Magufuli funeral in Tanzania. Interesting. Government Eurobond sale oversubscribed amidst COVID-19. And an observer, Ghana loses 10 billion to Galamsey. The Insight. Supreme Court dismisses case against Amewu. These are the topics that we've tabled for our conversation this morning. Be sure to share with us what your thoughts are via our Facebook page, which is Pan African Television. And I believe that I will share the feed as well on my personal Facebook page. Dr. Marzouk, you should do that as well. And all my wonderful panelists should do that as well, so that we can get a lot more people to follow the conversation this morning. So these are the topics. We are discussing the African story and dispatching same briefly, because there are a number of issues which I believe will take a larger chunk of the time for today's conversation. Magufuli, and I think you've seen, even when he died, you saw the videos of people thronging the streets of Tanzania in memorializing him, eulogizing him, and singing his praises and all of that. A stampede. I mean, yeah, they should tell you. I think that in Tanzania, yes, they have their own issues and things like that, but I believe they really love the president. And maybe we may draw a few lessons from it, you know, the positive aspect of it. Because it's the positive aspect that has led to this 45 people dying, etc. You know, so let me start with you, Dr. Marzouk. Of course, there are reservations about his governance and things like that, but in Tanzania, it appears that people hold very positive views about his reign.
Good morning to the cherished viewers of our and thanks for the opportunity to be here. Special good morning to the Warmachimba of Yana, of Myuna, of Myanglana, and good morning to the colleague panelists here. much more interested in that issue because it raises issues of happiness and sadness. It is a combination of good news and bad news. Good news because it tells us how popular the former president was, the late president was, how popular he was. And it also tells us that Tanzania has been able to demonstrate to the whole world a kind of African expression of love. African expression of love. Tanzania has proven to the whole world that an African leader who is hated or disliked by Western powers is not necessarily a dictator or a bad leader on the African continent. And that that is very good for the people of Africa. It doesn't matter his government style, whatever be the case, people will have their own description of his government style. To some people it was dictatorial, to others it was democratic, to some people it was unsympathetic, to others it was sympathetic, to some people it was unsuccessful, to others it was successful. People will continue, and that is part of the dynamics of governance, and of course, discourse on politics and governance. So that tells us that the late Tanzanian leader was an institution of badness and goodness. So then let's go beyond the expression of love for him.
Right.
Definitely. Before we started, I had an informal conversation with my colleague, doctor, and he was of the view that it also, his death, and what happened is also a continuation of his disregard for the COVID-19 protocols.
Yeah.
Right. And I think I share that argument. It makes sense because he himself never believed that there was COVID-19, and even when he was compelled to believe that it existed, he never accepted the supremacy of science as solution. He rather wanted prayer. Of course, let me say, as a man who believes in a religion, a functional religion, I do not at all downplay the power of the prayer. But I believe that responsible prayers must be backed by actions. And part of the action should be scientific solutions. There's no religion or traditional belief that disregards the scientific solution. And if you continue to submit yourself to some concoctions that are of low or no medical value, definitely with prayers may not. Yes, the prayers alone cannot, because I am told in my old Quran that yes, the Quran is a holy book. It is a book of healing, but then the healing must be made from two sides. You must look for it, and God will grant it. Part of looking for it is to make an effort, and then if you don't make any effort, definitely you cannot get whatever you need from God. So I am not faulting him. That was his belief. But I also believe that prayers should be backed by actions and scientific solutions.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Dr. Marzuk. Dr. Abdumako Kisi, please.
Yes. First of all, it's very unfortunate, the loss of their president. A very painful one to Africa, and a very painful one to their democracy, I mean, of some sort, because I think any president that dies brings about a shake in the system. Secondly, I'm even more pained by the fact that a lot more lives have been lost because of the funeral arrangement. And it's unfortunate that was through stampede. And I would even go further to say that I think there may be other issues related to health that may not be accounted for later on, because clearly if truly it was corona, we all know unfortunately the COVID protocols are not very carefully adhered to in Tanzania because of how leadership took it. I used to always laugh about this phrase. We always say this: the person that brought hygiene died of hygiene. I mean, it's one of the interesting local jokes we do, but this is a case that the person that did not believe in COVID has been unfortunately killed by COVID. And I would use this opportunity to beg, borrowing my president's word, fellow Ghanaians, that in our local parlance, clearly COVID is real. In as much as we are doing our physical distancing and avoiding going for programs that you don't need to go for, I think we need to constantly be very careful. And I need to even add an additional thing. You know, life has changed so much that we had SARS 1 and now 2 and all these.
Absolutely.
And it is more likely that we may be facing new diseases as we go ahead, considering what is happening now. So I think that I, for one, my nose mask approach may last for a longer period, because now it's almost as if you don't know what might be coming. So times certainly has changed. A few years ago, when I'm traveling through Amsterdam or England, and I see my, Chinese people or, the Asians putting on masks, I always thought it was ridiculous. I mean, that's what I thought. Until now, Corona has brought home the need for prevention. And I now appreciate why people who had died from swine flu or other types of flu were very conscious about the need to mask up during travel and during, any activity outside their homes. So I'll use this opportunity to do what is very important, that we re-caution our Ghanaian people, that we beg them. I mean, the cost of life, unbelievable. This president's life in Tanzania certainly will affect so many lives, so many homes, because of his approach to governance. I mean, I've heard some good things. In anything there's good and the bad. I've heard some very good things he's done in terms of helping people come out of poverty. And I must commend him for that. Granted, sometimes the approach can be counterintuitive or not practical in terms of how the rest of the world sees it. And business as usual, no country is an island. So this game of economic revival has to be systematic. You can't do a Mugabe economics where you think you can be isolated and work. It doesn't work. Nothing works like that. So I would hope that more and more all of us would learn and do better. There was one comment he said, and his whole thing was about the fact that things were being engineered by, quote unquote, our white people. And I need to add my word to this, that some of the best virologists in the world are Africans who are in CDC, or let me say other biological, technological, advanced laboratories in the world. Whilst outside, most of the doctors in pharmaceuticals were mostly Nigerian colleagues. So it's unfortunate that because it may be coming from Pfizer or AstraZeneca, we forget the fact that there are many African scientists on board working day and night for all of us to have a livelihood. So, and science is so interconnected that it isn't one scientist that comes about with a solution. They work in various teams, and maybe as Ghanaians we may have to travel out and do a documentary of the number of Ghanaians working at Washington D.C. in the CDC environment, and doing clinical trials in abroad, And they have all contributed to this vaccination program. And I think, unfortunately, as Africans, we fail to promote our own. We fail to appreciate our own. We fail to elevate our own people. So I would add my voice that, please, the vaccination, which is ongoing, is very critical in terms of our health and in terms of building this herd immunity. And what is fearful is that the prices of the vaccination are going up. We tagged it at 10 cities, and I think just about 2 days ago, I'm hearing it's now like $17. Sorry,
$10 to $17.
$17. So clearly, it's going to cost Ghana.
Which are the first batch that came in?
Yeah, so it's going to cost Ghana a bit more, or any country a bit more.
Big
and
farmers are
and you can't blame them. I mean, you know, I won't go into pharmaceutical pricing, but one thing I can tell you is that something like, for instance, Viagra, the cost of Viagra is not the cost of Viagra itself, but the research work that has gone into it for almost 20 years. So when they cost in pharmaceutical industry, and you look at it, it is not just that drug, but the thousands of drugs they tried out that arrived at that. So it's very complicated. But it's a sad situation in Tanzania. Many more lives have been lost out of funeral arrangement. And that also adds one more thing. Let's adhere to the funeral protocols that our president has given us. It has been done out of advice from many health practitioners and public health practitioners, and we will beg Ghanaians. As for the Nsawabodie, we need it. And you can do Momo in Nsawabodie. You can also visit 5 minutes at the funeral and drop off your Nsawabodie and go home. It is very important that we change.
Right.
I see people trying to go back to our old ways. We are very good at going back to our old ways, but I would beg, COVID-19 is real, and we need to not let our guards down. As we're entering Easter festivities, no matter what, those who do not go to church will go on Good Friday. Those who do not go to church may go on Sunday. And beyond that, you know, there'll be sit-ins and sit-ins.
One go sit.
And when we open the bottles, we forget that there's corona.
Yeah.
But I'll beg all of us, let's have fun with caution.
Yeah.
And let's limit our numbers at programs. And it's advisable that you do things in the open where you're not in an enclosed area.
Yeah.
And taking in the doses from few friends. And if you would eat quick and cover your nose and mouth.
Right.
And then talk as I'm talking here today.
Right.
Vaccination is not 100% foolproof, and none of us have actually had the 2 doses in Ghana. So I'll beg all of us, this is my medical side talking.
I was actually going to say that.
that we are much more careful with this.
Yeah.
But in summary, Tanzania, we wish them well. The transition from one president to another is not an easy thing. And then more importantly, I would hope that they become more health conscious than they were, and I admit the fact that so many countries cannot get it wrong. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it is not possible that over 1 million scientists agree that this is the way, and then you are saying that no, it's not the way. I mean, it begs that question. You know, you can't be wrong. And I think they got it wrong, and he got it wrong, and unfortunately he has paid with his life. God bless him and keep him well.
All right.
And thanks for an opportunity to talk about this.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Well, in all the conversations, in all the analysis, the part that excited me was the fact that he said that, you know, in Nsawabodie, and you can do it through Momo. So birthday gifts too can be done through Momo. Well, last week was somebody's birthday. Dr. Rashid Pebble, please let's hear from you.
Yeah. Yeah, yesterday, last week we sang a birthday.
We sang a beautiful birthday song.
Oh, I see. I thought you were Chinese. You know, the Chinese celebrate just January and then it's over. But, you know,
I mean, mine is 2 in 1. Mine is our body plus birthday.
You're right.
I went to bury my
you're
grandmother this weekend.
So. You're right.
Anyway.
But Uncle,
So, it's a coded language.
It's a coded language.
Good morning to everybody. Good morning to One Central.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir.
I hope and pray everybody is
the
keeping
giant
well.
of One Central. The people, they love you. Hey.
And thank God for that.
Charlie, too
Yeah.
much. You know, they repeated your show on the couch.
Oh yeah,
Hey,
a lot of people called me.
Hey, I know, I knew it.
And were drawing my attention all over.
Yeah.
And thank you for showing that.
Oh, come on.
Well, this is a sad situation. Magufuli was a great man in his own world. He demonstrated love for Africa and he demonstrated love for his people. It shows that an African country, an African leader can move away from the continuous dependence on the external world to establishing their own financial system and running a government that is capable of managing its own affairs. A few things about him were that the president was able to move away from loans. He refused to take loans. The Chinese came over begging him to take $10 billion loan. He said, no problem, we'll manage ourselves. He reduced foreign travels. He reduced his number of ministers from 30 to 19. Compare that to Ghana. He reduced 30 ministers, reduced them from 30 to 19.
Yeah.
His salary was $15,000. He reduced it to $4,000.
Documented salary.
No, he had nothing to do with corruption because he was against it and he fought against it. And he insisted that there are no technicians coming to build in his country. And so he did everything himself. He did the construction of the roads, he did the construction of the bridges, and all the big buildings he wanted to do, he did them himself. He moved his country from a lower income country to a middle class country. In fact, the last time I checked, Tanzania had moved from their position to about the 9th position largest economy in Africa, just below Ghana. Ghana is number 8. They are number, they are number 9.
Ghana is still doing well in spite of.
Yeah, Ghana.
There's something that you need to know.
Yes.
What is helping the Ghana's economy to survive is because we've been able to create a certain middle class.
Yeah.
In most of the other countries, they don't have middle class.
They don't have
it's
middle
just
class.
upper class and lower class.
Yes.
Particularly those countries, the East African countries.
Okay.
With the consistent, with the way they are moving, from where they move and to
They
where
will
they
come
are,
and pass
they will
by, you
overtake
see.
Ghana.
Okay.
Let me tell you the difference between the two of us. Our debt profile is 77.6%.
Just died.
Yeah. I would go there. Our debt profile is about 76.6. In other words, the GDP to debt is about 77.6%. Their GDP debt profile is 37%. It means when he came, the debt they took years ago, he didn't add to it. So they kept it at 37. When Nana came, our debt profile was 55%. He took it to 76%. He kept it there. And then he still rose his GDP to very close to us within a very short period of time. With that kind of consistency and ability to manage an economy, very likely he would overtake countries such as Ghana. He would have. Just hope that his vice president would take over from him and do everything he was doing. So this was a man who was so determined that he cowed opposition to him. He wanted to make sure he did what he did, to advance the cause of his country And so every opposition to him was seen as inimical, so he fought it. That's the bad side of him. He fought the opposition to the extent that at the last election, not one member of the opposition party won one seat in parliament. He beat them all in all the constituencies. So it was like a one-party state, or it's like a one-party state now.
And President Nana Addo has done well for your party.
He has no option. He's not like you.
but you see, given the outpour of love, don't you think it's a reflection of what we are seeing in Parliament? Because if the people really
No.
genuinely do, you never know.
You see, Corey, let me add my voice here. Sorry.
Just 1 second.
Okay,
I promise I'll end. Just one
Okay,
second.
no problem.
Yeah, please. Honorable, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'll come to you, Doc.
No problem.
Yeah, so you see that there was, he hinged on building an economy, he hinged on retrieving the country's wealth back to the people, he hinged on getting the people to finance their own economy. And then in doing so, he obstructed opposition to him. In fact, he fought against opposition. He insisted that the philosophy he was bringing was good for the people. In fact, that wouldn't have succeeded if the people didn't listen to him. So in other words, it might not just be that he imposed a one-party rule on them. He brought up a proposal to the people bought into it and voted for him massively. So when the impression I have is that the people of Africa can be salvaged from this dependency, from this low dependency on external, this begging mentality, this feeling that we can't do well until somebody else helps us. You know, the feeling that the European is a superpower, even when you go to the poorest European country, like Portugal, I mean, in the midst of countries like that, Hungary and the rest are poor. We still go there for loans. You know, because we feel that anything white is better than anything black.
I think, anyways,
You will oppose to that, but that is the feeling. Everywhere white is where a black man wants to travel to. They're standing there. If they tell them there's an opportunity in Czechoslovakia, in Slovenia, or Romania, they will be very happy to go. I'm telling you the fact. Anywhere else where there are white people and there are buildings that are looking white, the black person is happy to go. So that eventually they will say, okay, let me go here, let me finally go here, let me finally go here. Because he's happy to leave their country. In fact, it's true. But Magufuli, his idea is to build the consciousness of the black person to appreciate what he is. And in doing so, essentially, he had to build an economy that is independent of them, of the external, and he had to make sure he provided the kind of infrastructure that drives people, or that often would drive people away from their own country. And I won't end up here without telling you what a fellow member of parliament I converse with, who is in the opposition, what she told me. When I told him that in Ghana we were praising Magufuli for what he did, he said, yes, he might do all the good things that people say he has done, but shrinking the democratic space was really bad. Suppressing freedom of speech and media, banning political activities, killing and abducting people, banning CSO's activities, stealing the elections, and turning, I don't know what he called by TZ into
Tanzania.
one party. Tanzania, that's their party.
Yeah.
Into one party system.
So the country, Tanzania, they write
Make
TZ.
him Tanzania into one party system, make him a pure dictator. So even in his own country, just like in Nkrumah, whilst the whole of Africa was praising him for fighting to bring freedom, for liberating the black man, for projecting a new thinking into the black personality, Ghanaians were destroying his image, bringing down his statue, burning his books, proscribing his party and all that. So that's the kind of thing we can see. You would normally not see the true picture of a prophet in his hometown. mostly out of his hometown or her hometown. So that is the man we are seeing who tried to build his country, who was... so the feeling is that a constituent of the external,
Right.
the Chinese and the European, came together to poison him to death.
That's what I also heard.
Yeah, because that's what people are feeling. Nobody knew what was happening to him. He was just destroying himself. His body was depreciating. It wasn't COVID. And eventually, he died. Yeah. So,
I mean, there's a possibility.
his wife would have also had
If Bob
COVID.
Marley was...
Do you know what the wife said about it?
We've had instances where people have tested negative, family members. You know, so that is.
I'm saying that the wife, normally, for people who have COVID, the people they sleep with also have COVID. Let me tell you the
100%.
truth
And
about.
before you go ahead, the wife even confessed how they slept and how her husband liked sleeping with her in the morning till his death.
Morning sex. He said the husband has morning sex.
So I don't believe that.
What
was
I'm
COVID.
saying is that I'll be
Tell
with
Frank.
you. There's numerous cases where husband, father, mother were positive. The rest of the family was negative.
Sleeping
so
together.
a husband,
in the same
wife.
house, in the same
Yeah.
house.
So I'm just.
then it wasn't COVID. COVID is very
Yeah.
It's a very
We don't know
infectious disease.
all of it. We don't know all of it.
I think, so, yeah, Doc, in conclusion,
Yeah.
what are you saying?
Well, in conclusion, I think that Ghanaians should celebrate this noble character. But in celebrating him, we pick some of the key factors in his life
Right.
that has changed his country, that has projected him into a personality who people at his funeral had to die. 45 people dying in stampede tells you that this was a character to be mourned.
Right. There's a lot of... you want to make a quick... I just wanted to go for this quick commercial break. When I return, then we can look at the other issues, respectfully. So, quick commercial break. Stay with us. Still watching the News for Every segment on Pan-African Television with me, Kwame Owusu. So, very intelligent conversations here we're having. And let me go for this quick commercial break. When I come back, we'll continue with the conversation. Stay with us.
After your comment, I also make a little comment.
Every day, he has a drink filled with malt. Every day, he has a drink filled with malt and milk. Every day, he has a drink filled with malt, milk, and cocoa. Every day, he needs the nutritious goodness of Milo. Milo, the energy to go further. This advert is FDA approved. Every day, he looks after his brother and chases a bus. Every day he looks after his brother, chases a bus, and learns new things. Every day he looks after his brother, chases a bus, learns new things, and gets back home. Every day he looks after his brother, chases a bus, learns new things, gets back home, and helps his mom. Phew. That's why every day he needs his cup of Milo filled with the nutritious goodness of malt, milk, and cocoa. Milo, the energy to go further.
From Nestle.
This advert is FDA approved.
Right, so we are back. Thank you very much for staying tuned into Pan-African Television. The WhatsApp number is on your screens now. If you're on social media, you can connect with us on our Facebook page. We're having a very wonderful conversation. I like to have such conversations because then we can learn, draw some lessons from it, you know, and see how we can apply that. When we went for the break, I was trying for us to have a conversation in respect of these issues, whether democracy really is good for Africa and things like that. But you wanted to make a quick intervention, after which Dr. Marzuka, and then I'll come to you finally, and then we can move to the next topic, respectfully. Please.
Okay, so there's this perception that I want to clear. Taking loans of itself is not bad. It is what you're using your loans for. So let me state this very clearly. Value for money is what loans are about. So if I have a business, and I am a full proponent of financing business so that you can actually make good profit, so that you can actually serve a bigger net of client or customers. And if I should posit this. I beg. Every government has its approach.
Yeah.
But I think that largely all parts of the world are very dependent on other generations in respect of like roads in the UK, roads in America. It's bonds that other generations come and pay so that they have good roads immediately and have productive life. So the idea that loans are bad, I have never been a subscriber to that. I believe that what we need to watch out for is that if we're going for loans, for instance, to build 100 hospitals, which we need, let's make sure that the interest rate or the term of payment is reasonable for the Ghanaian people, because there's no free money anywhere.
Yeah, no free
and we cannot forget the fact that without good health, we cannot be productive citizens.
Absolutely.
And in that sense, for instance, if a lot more roads can be done in our country on loans, and there's a surety that if even our generation now cannot pay for it, the next generation will be able to pay for it. And then instead of moving from here to Kumasi with 4 hours, I can move in 2 hours. Imagine how much productivity we gain as a country. Things that would have gone to Kumasi and slept overnight would go and come the same day. And if I can tell you the research work that proves that doing Accra Kumasi in 2 hours boosts business totally, you'll be surprised. Because when I buy something in Kumasi, by maybe 2 hours, I have it in my house. And this is why I think that we always ought to check what we are taking the loan for, if there's value. It doesn't matter if it's 2 billion, 3 billion, 6 billion. As much as what we are using it for is something that makes sense and it's useful. And I would beg all of us to always think about that.
Right.
So if you have a small business, one shop, and you want to add equipment to improve your productivity and you make your money back, why say that it's a bad idea because quote unquote is loans? Marriott Hotel, Marriott, we all know Marriott. Marriott has a lot of money, but Marriott still takes loans because it has to service their clients very well, adapt very good technology to make their operations more efficient. And that doesn't mean that Marriott is a bad business.
Okay.
Yeah, I hope you understand what I'm saying.
Right.
So
Okay.
I would beg
I see
that
where you're going.
argument that, oh, we're on loans and things, it isn't an issue. What should be our issue all the time
What will you use the loans
is
for?
that what is it being used for?
Okay.
Will we get value from it?
Money, yeah.
You know, the lives that we'll lose from bad health care, how much is that?
Okay.
You understand?
Okay.
And then we compare to what we are gaining. So I am always a bit anxious when I hear that, loans. No, let's ask ourselves. Is it for a shed or is it for equipment to help us
Okay.
advance?
Cogent.
You understand?
Very cogent.
So that's
Let me
what
come to you, very
my
cogent.
plea is.
Doc has expressed worry, of course, genuine indeed, about some conspiracy theories by some people against COVID.
Yes.
That is very genuine. But with all humility, in your own medical fraternity, we have people who have become agents of these conspiracy theories. You go on social media, you see medical doctors, trained medical doctors.
Apparent. Let me add
Yes.
something small. It's very important that you brought it up.
Yes, let me.
So that I sorry that I'm cutting you.
well, whether apparent.
But let me
or
just say
I
this.
don't want you to translate
Some
line of thought.
okay. Let me
Right.
let you go before
Yes.
I come in.
Some medical doctors who, first of all, question the reality of COVID, question the efficacy of the vaccines, question the scientific justification for the vaccine, and sometimes they mislead us. What I want to say simply is that there's no way one aspect of life can provide a holistic solution to all aspects of life. In other words, science alone cannot provide the solution to every human problem. Science and religion have always been compatible as tools for the well-being of humanity. And that is why Almighty Allah says, with your permission, I can quote in my Quran, that إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُوا مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. God does not change the condition of a people until they themselves change their own condition. This tells us that their prayers and their action, their respect for science, their respect for the supremacy of Almighty Allah, God, will constitute an effective solution to all problems confronting them.
So briefly.
Are you responding to the conspiracy
Yes,
theory?
yes.
Okay, briefly. Briefly.
One, in our own Ghanaian setting, there are scientists or doctors who, because of their religious reasons, will not give blood to their patient. So I'm just saying that being a doctor necessarily, if you can understand, some are bad by their religious beliefs. So don't mistake somebody's religious
Belief.
it's unfortunate. Like I was just explaining.
These people do not argue on the basis of religion.
No. Let me. I'll just come in.
But
In all respect,
I see, yeah.
in all respect.
They have never mentioned their religion. They
Let me help you. Let me help you.
Let him also not.
No, I want
chain of thought.
I want to put it.
But let him also not try to get his chain of thought with
Now,
respect.
And
the beauty of virology and vaccination, there are doctors who, by their very inclination, do not buy vaccination.
That's a fact.
So that's why I'm saying that there are scientific
But it's
communities.
not against the profession.
No. Let me add to. So there are scientific communities, and sometimes I laugh because, excuse me, ohieni enko vaccination because onim hwehwe.
Yeah.
Osikeni bi so enko vaccination because ojunsu esua atra.
So the poor man
You
does
understand?
not go for vaccination because they know nothing about it. The
Yes.
rich one also doesn't because they think
Sorry.
they overknow.
They overknow.
Yeah.
So I'll beg you.
Yeah.
You have to use your better judgment.
Okay.
You understand?
In all of these
things.
instances.
And then what
Yeah.
kills me, just as Dr. Rashid Pablo was saying, people look at quote unquote videos of quote unquote white people talking and they take that as if white person is talking, then it is making sense. And that is the problem of us.
Well,
I will beg
that's also an issue.
that top virologists in Ghana who know more than a lot of quote unquote white people. Some of us have studied in class with them. We did far better than them in class. So I don't, as I sit here personally, when I see white man talking, that means it's doctrine. No, but it is a problem for us.
Exactly.
And then in addition,
Yes.
some of the videos,
It's an admission of the existence of the problem.
Exactly.
some of the
but that's
videos
true,
are
yeah.
adulterated too. Some of the videos are adulterated, and some of the videos are truncated without telling, like letting you
story.
follow the whole story. And some of them, when you see the whole story, you realize that they were rather talking against what they are saying. That some people are doing, this and this and this, and it is bad. The parts that they say it is bad, somebody cuts it off. So we are doing
And then
some
uses
bad
that as PR.
editorial things.
Right.
in our
Doctor, I
country.
think we've made let's proceed.
No,
let's
I
make
just-
progress.
no, I just want
Let's
to-
make progress.
No, please, I just want to establish that Doc has accepted.
No, there's
that
no
what
admission.
I've
I think
said-
there's no question.
that what I've said is a problem.
No, that exists. I think it's an admission that there's an existence of that problem.
Thank you.
However, his solution, his defense is that is also a creation of some conspiracy theories. I mean, for the purpose of, but the solution people, yes.
I think that we need to understand that when we are talking about the challenges Africa face, it is about Africa. It's not about Europe.
It's interconnected.
When America goes for so much loan, it's because America has the power to work and pay. When Japan is the biggest loan rating country in the world, when they go for so much loans, within a few years, if they want to pay, they pay. If Ghana goes for loan up to 70-80%, it's a trouble for us. The IMF is there warning us, don't do this because you don't have anything to pay apart from your cocoa. Right now, we are using our cocoa. We gave it to France so that we can take money. We are using our gold. We are giving it to Ajepa so that we can take money. Those are the things we used to pay. We have used our statutory funds, GET fund, road funds. We have given it out so that we can take money. We don't have anything again because we have borrowed to the point that the space left for us to borrow is small. So we are using other things to go and take loans. We are not using our capacity to produce, engineering, private sector, and taxing the private sector to be able to make domestic income to run our economy. We cannot be compared to these countries that borrow so much. We just have to be careful and borrow within our means. But again, let me get to this point. You see, yeah, the idea of some doctors, not all of them, everything is relative. You know, I'm talking about relativity, not necessarily because of Einstein's relativity concept, but it's also the case that relativity is critical when you talk about an issue.
That's a fact.
So when you talk about doctors who are conspiring to do this, indeed, there are doctors who conspire to do that. When you talk about doctors who shouldn't be doing that because they don't do it, they may be doing because of their... There are people who do that.
Yeah.
You can always find them everywhere. But we are talking about critical situation where we want to see something built properly in this country. So we take up the challenges, differentiate them from the real issues, and we can move along with them. There are definitely situations in this country and everywhere else where people conspire to eliminate others, and they do it. In America, they do it. In Europe, they do it. In Russia, they do everywhere. They just kill you. Because when you think that, just imagine how the Korean president, his brother,
Lumumba, these guys here.
They were killed against that. I mean, but I'm just saying that with...
quite recently, the Korean president's brother, he landed from the airport, was going through the process. Two young girls went to him, hey, and touched him, and then left him, and then he fell and died.
That video.
Yeah, those were real issues. So these things are normal things that can happen to everybody. It is possible that Magufuli suffered the same problem.
Cyanide poisoning.
Cyanide poisoning.
Possible, eh?
Cyanide, if you put it in water, the water hasn't changed color. If you put it in food, but it hasn't changed.
The beauty is that the death patterns are known. You know, that's a beautiful thing.
You can follow.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, the death patterns.
Yes.
Sorry, please.
So essentially, we need to walk along the path that can build this country in a more efficient manner.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, the question I asked earlier was not answered, but I think that we can make progress. So I was asking whether democracy is good for us.
So I'm ready to talk about that. I'm ready to talk about
I thought we were going to touch on that. Because I was asking that in relation to the expedition with which some African countries are developing. You know,
Singapore
and
Singapore.
So
hard hand.
So that's what I was going to say. But you see, but then also I listened to this argument being advanced by a very respectable personality in this country.
That what?
Who was saying that if we want to go the Singapore way,
yes,
it means that we are going to pay people less. For instance, you know, labor and things like that. We're going to really treat people harshly in order to get to that point.
And use the money to build the country.
Do we want that?
Ghana, we use it.
But that's the whole point. Do we believe? Do you think that we as a people will believe in that principle of
Singapore didn't have chiefs
sacrificing now for the benefit of tomorrow? Do we believe in that principle?
I'll
start like this. Let me start like this.
I tell you,
we
believe in it.
No, you're not a lady. Yeah. You know, a big, tall giant.
We believe it.
Yeah.
We believe to sacrifice now and earn more. But that's only consciousness. That's only in our minds. We can't practicalize it, I tell you. Because if people decide that they will sacrifice, as we did during the revolution, and the money comes, and one leader comes and says, okay, let's use it to build our roads, let's do this, let's do that. The next government comes and things will change because we are in a democratic dispensation. So whether we accept the total system of governance and administration is another question. If we allow that to happen, then we have to also allow consistency in the system of rule. If you allow the consistency in the system of rule, what happens is that it is possible for us to have a trajectory into a certain future that can be acceptable. So for me, I think that we need to change our direction. We need to be able to sacrifice, but the people who lead must be able to utilize the money purposely to develop the country. Because you can't use money, we can't sacrifice and you earn money and spend the money going to marry, going to celebrate. Look at the finance minister celebrating something, throwing dollars here and there. Why?
Yeah.
Why do you have
and
to do that?
I'm still stay with you. I think that because this whole issue, I'm sure you are very much aware about this. You know, this whole issue about the taxes and things like that. It's not that people are not interested in paying taxes. The question has always been what our taxes have been used for.
Yes, yes.
You know, to the extent that people feel like, okay, we pay taxes, but our roads are bad. We pay tolls, but our roads are terrible. So what are our taxes being used for? It doesn't affect anybody positively, etc. So how do we get to the point where we can hold the feet of governments that we put into power to the fire of accountability, such that we'll feel comfortable, for instance, paying taxes, we'll feel comfortable knowing that we can sacrifice for the benefit of posterity, etc. I'm staying with you on this particular issue, and then I'll come to the same issue. Yeah, how do we do that?
I think that
do we still maintain the 4-year cycle? Do we? I don't know. How do we do that?
You see, first of all, it is the first thing Kwame Nkrumah mentioned when he won power from the Europeans and from the British. He said that we need to have a new African with a new mentality. And from now on, you are no longer a dependent people, you are independent people. These words are very, very powerful. But we stay there, still feeling independent, still feeling dependent on somebody else to help. So that mentality must be cleared, that this is our world, nobody is coming to save us. We need to build Ghana and own Ghana and enjoy Ghana. If we have that feeling first, 4 years doesn't matter, 5 years doesn't matter, we will develop.
We'll develop.
But if we are a people like we are today, you earn the money, the next moment you are building a house, people are happy you are building a house. If you don't build a house, they insult you.
Yeah, useless man.
The former, my uncle, I'm citing it because of the quality of human being he was. You know, in the Bourgeois administration, he joined the MPP. I think that was the PP, the PP party, the PP. He just joined the party straight. He was the first. He became the Bourgeois Minister for Defense.
Beautiful.
Yeah, BK Adama, and he did so well.
Right.
He did so well.
You should choose.
And he was with the Nkrumah regime. They asked him to join him. He refused to join him. He insisted in being with the PP in the Bourgeois administration.
Loyalty.
And he ended his term without building a house in Accra. Where he lived before he became a minister was where he went back.
Warren Buffett.
Because he believed in committing himself to the service of the people. Not a Peswa followed him home from work. And he kept saying it, that if you want to build this country, you have to sacrifice. Let the people know you are sacrificing. Now they insult him. Say, how can you be minister for all these years and you still are poor? Your children are this, you don't have a house to stay in. So the Ghanaian wants you to go and steal money.
No curfew.
And they want you to make money in office. That is the mentality of the Ghanaian. If you don't do so, they are the same people who will come and take money from you and still insult you for being stupid and foolish. So we need to change that mentality. We need to go forward and get a leadership that can recognize that when people sacrifice, they get the benefit of the sacrifice. It doesn't matter. It can be 6 years in office, 4 years in office. Let people pay for their own deeds. Let corruption be so expensive that when you involve yourself in it, it pays, you pay for it, dearly for it.
Systems must work.
Yes.
In effect, systems must work.
And the systems must work. The systems must work individuals like Magafuli would come into the system, make sure they enforce the system, and the people who are in the system must work. When I became a minister for youth and sports, one of the things I did was to call a meeting. And I said, all of you are sitting here, you have 20 years to go, some have 10 years to go. I just have 4 years in this ministry. Maybe I won't even be up to 1 year, I told them. And so, don't let me cut short your years of service. Make sure I keep you here and leave you whilst you are still here.
Right.
I have just 1 year or 2 years or 3 years. I'm a politician. So within the years I will be here, I don't want anything bad from here. I want quality work and I want commitment to Ghana. So when I left, there was nothing wrong. People didn't see anything happen at the ministry because I insisted in doing the right thing and they insisted in following me. And so if you let the people know that this is what you want and you work towards it yourself, then you can.
I think you did well in that ministry because that ministry was a demonic ministry. It was a demonic
I
ministry.
recall that they were buying lunch for me.
Yeah.
Then I asked them one day, where do you get the money? He said, oh, this one is Impress. So I said, but I have money. Why are you buying the food for me? One day they will go and take the Impress and say that you are going to take the. They will go and take
works like an
this,
NPP man.
and publish it and say, Honorable Rashid has people who have spent 2 million cedis buying lunch.
Buying lunch. That's true. Anyway, Dr. Abdul, let's hear from on this whole issue. I like that because it fits into even the next topic, government irreversible sale of subscribers, etc. We're talking about borrowing, taxes, all. So I like where we are headed. Yeah. So I'll come back on this issue as well. But let's discuss this.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think looking at our local system, our culture and beliefs, it is important that we really in the future consider 6-year terms. That's just my thought, because it takes so much time to really do much. And then I'm even more concerned about the waste during political campaign.
Okay.
There's a lot of money that could be used for developmental projects, but for one or two reasons, because of election, then we end up spending on printing, doing billboards. I'm sure that the budget last year for billboards and posters alone could have built us one hospital or two big hospitals.
Yep.
I'm just saying, Yep. So I think that if we did a 6-year term or a single 8-year term, that's it, once, that's it. So that during that 8 years, you have to do everything you can. And you know that you're not going to stand again, and you're not going to, crazily use state resources in your next election because you're out. That may be the African way out. But the biggest thing, and I must clap for President Obama, former President Obama, when he came here, he said, let your institutions work. Let your institutions work. And I believe that if our institutions are well run in this country, and I wrote an article about this, that, for instance, if the police service is working so well, it does not matter if NDC or NPP is in power. They'll be very efficient and it will help us. If the judiciary is working very well, it will not matter who is in power. And I think that what has been beautiful about America with all these Donald Trump things is the fact that their institutions were working so well, it didn't really matter, quote unquote, if you had any person running affairs, because they have tough institutions. The FBI working accurately, CIA working so well. And you know what? The beautiful thing is when they told Trump, hey, Massa, the institutions will work.
Yeah,
we have a new president. They came out boldly, without fear, that as for them, it is America they are here to save.
Yep.
And I believe that that was a very positive signal that the institutions abide by the rules that is in the self-interest of the country. So I think as a country, or as Ghanaians, or as Africans, the biggest thing we need to do is to push for our institutions to work. Healthcare institutions working, banking institutions working, and then by virtue of all institutions working very well in this country, most of the political hula hoops will not be necessary, because when I go for my passport, the process works well, whether in NDC time or in NPP time. When I go to DVLA, my car gets registered very sharply. It doesn't matter which party is in power. When I go to court, my case is done without fear or favor, regardless of who is in power. When we get there, then we'll be in that scenario where it's like when we vote just on a few issues because the systems or institutions are working.
Yeah.
And I believe that we've politicized too many things. I've just heard that there's an NDC homo and an MPP homo.
Can you imagine?
Very unfortunate. It'll get to a point that the tap water coming crowd will say this is one party tap water. But I'm begging, as leaders of all institutions, we have to try as much as possible to limit politicizing a lot. And then let's build very well institutions that are run. And by so doing, it will not matter which political party
is in power.
Is in
That's
power.
a brilliant submission. Listen, I think the viewers are interested in the conversation so much that they are sharing with us. Honorable, we want to drink a little bit of water.
Water is life.
Ablade, well, it's talking about Esedi Nketia being appointed to Parliamentary Service Board. We're not talking about that. Right. Antwi K says Magufuli did the bold and right thing to fight the opposition. If the opposition are opposing the policies in the interest of the people, most opposition parties in Africa are influenced and financially supported by the West. So should he allow them to grow wings and destroy the country? Felicitas Wakaria says, well done, Honorable Rashid. Great submission. Puya Idrisu Redwan says, congratulations to the General for his appointment. NPK, Africa is in a state of destruction because of opposition who rose against the true leaders. Regina Eloto says, Akufo-Addo takes loans to build his family's empire, not to develop the country. Jesse Emmanuel from Abeka says, the call by the majority members to extend the probe on electoral violence to cover the entire fourth. I'm not discussing that, sir. This one says, it's my birthday today. Oh, Jesse, okay, happy birthday to you, Jesse Emmanuel Bahene. Happy birthday to you. You live in Abeka. Good morning and happy birthday. Saeed Adam said, our problem has always been this thing called democracy, because the vast majority of our people are yet to really understand it. It's practically impossible to, if not difficult, for this system of governance to work in our setting, because we are a bunch of people divided on ethnic, cultural, and even religious lines, among others. Maybe the solution should rather be a tailored democracy to suit these divisions, or a tailored dictatorship to also take care of the indiscipline and madness in our society. I believe, I support you when you say we have a lot of madness in the system and indiscipline, too much indiscipline. Sadat has written to me an essay, right? Says, you don't necessarily need atomic bombs to destroy a nation. Politicians who value their pockets than the life of citizens always do that every day. Dear leaders and fellow Ghanaians and Africa at large, our continent has everything, but our people are living in nightmare of their lives to try to look for a better future for themselves and their descendants. But they belong to Africa. My fellow Ghanaians, let's not be manipulated by the sweet words. Let's not allow them to use the love we have for them to deceive us. Let's not allow them to sell our resources in the name of development to enrich themselves and their families. Let's not allow the efforts of our forefathers to be wasted. Let's not be blinded by partisanship and come together as one for the betterment of our great nation. Rise, Ghana youth, for your country. The nation demands your devotion. Let us all unite to uphold her and make her great and strong. Saeed Adam, Ghana, I'm afraid, is an epitome of a joke. Ibrahim Washara says, KOD, corruption galore. Samuel Evans Ota says, Kwame, if these politicians are ready to sacrifice and reduce their exorbitant and lavishing lifestyles at the expense of the citizens to the extent that medical doctors and other pronounced professions and specialists will abandon their respective areas. Who in the world is giving the so-called ex gratia? Okay, okay, so he's talking about that, and then that. So I think the guy is coming hard at Doc.
I can talk about it.
Watching you live from Birmingham. Okay, so what? Abdul Karim says, how can institutions work when the president is forcing the Auditor General to go? Judy Mensah says, why did Napo celebrate the Akufo-Addo graduates? All right, these are some messages that have come in. Let me come to you, Dr. Marzouk, on this subject matter. I think Parliament must be an embodiment of different people from different professions and different fields. I think, personally, that's my belief. Sure. We should have journalists in there, we should have doctors in there, we should have lawyers in there, we should have farmers in there, we should have, market women in there. Engineers, everybody should be there, so that collectively...
Religious men.
Yeah, everybody should be there, so that we can build our nation. Yes, Doc.
And lecturers.
And lecturers, yeah, of course. You see, I mentioned...
In fact, I'm on the Committee for Environment, Science and Tech.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
So, when he said lecturers, I mean...
Wow.
So research is my newest thing now.
We'll go do some research.
I'm a firm proponent of research.
We'll do some research again.
But we'll make sure we don't falsify scientific data.
I know. Are you referring to the other one part of the election?
I'm not referring to anything.
Go ahead.
Well, I think your question is whether democracy is suitable to Africa. And the sub-question is whether we must use force to change the country. To ensure development. Yes, I will answer that. I will answer the two in one. And I'm saying that our first solution should be redefinition of democracy and revitalization of public service to reflect African reality. If you observe, all these democratic concepts that we operate are foreign-based. The Westminster system is based on British culture.
That is true.
The American presidential system is based on the American tradition. The French system, including the laïcité, egalitarianism, are all part of the French. Russia, they have their own system. You go to the Arab world, most of the Arab world countries have tailored democratic governance with their own conditions. So if we want to make democracy meaningful on the continent of Africa, then of course we must redefine democracy to suit our own situation. We must accept that democracy itself should not be an imposition from one continent on another continent. And it is important for all of us to understand that as we are speaking, everything that we do is not what reflects here. Everything that we do is based on the Western culture. Sometimes mere semantics can do the trick. What we call discipline could be described to us by the Western powers as dictatorship.
Well, that's true.
And if we accept it as dictatorship, of course, which is dictatorship in their context, if we do the wholesale consumption of their description and put that description in our situation, definitely we will have problems.
Absolutely.
And if we cannot ensure that we have the capacity to describe our own words and to use them in our own context, definitely we will have misguided democracy on the continent of Africa. And that is why, if you observe, all those who have been able to pursue democratic governance in their own understanding based on the African tradition have been labeled dictators. Talk about the Mugabes, the Magafulis, and the rest. All of them have been labeled dictators. So it is up to all of us to understand that there's the need. I don't oppose democracy. I will never oppose democracy. What I oppose is the imposition of somebody's democratic concept, ideology on the African continent. And that is very unfortunate. So I am saying that no matter the situation, let's now agree to do away with the Westminster system, the American presidential system, or the hybrid that we are practicing today, and try as much as possible to call for a national dialogue conference on democratic governance.
Right, right.
Do well to revise our constitutional structures. Do well to have our own operational definitions of democratic constructs. Do well to ensure that we have a tailored system of democracy suitable for our continent. Okay. And in the end, we will be celebrating the beauty of democracy.
Right.
And not mourning the ugliness of autocracy.
Thank you very much. Dr. Marazuk there. Let me now introduce the next two set of topics, and I think we have a little bit of time on our hands to be able to execute same. I'm coming to you straight, Dr. Adomah Kwesi, on the next subject matter. Government's Eurobond sale oversubscribed amidst COVID-19. Of course, in part it's good news, but in part it's bad news because it's only going to add to our debt portfolio. But it's also good because we need to ensure that we cleanse ourselves of, the debt that the myriad of things that we ought to do, that obviously we've not been able to do by reason of the existence of COVID-19, etc. So, yes, in part it's good, but generally it's also bad.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
It's a very interesting topic. Okay, let me first of all say a very big thank you to our financial sector. Let me say a very big thank you to Ministry of Finance and all the agencies that work under them. The fact that their boss was away and they still were able to synchronize and work together to provide us with a budget that has now been approved. Now, in addition to that, I must commend the team because it is not easy to convince an investor to invest in you. There are things you need to prove that it's a good investment for even the investor. And I think I'm marveled by the ingenuity of our finance minister in the sense that he's found a way in times like this where other countries are also struggling to get the attention of investors, to have them listen to Ghana and to say that, listen, granted COVID has impacted your economy, but the things you are telling us gives us hope that this country will pick up from where it is, given the challenges of the country, and that we're going to put this amount of money into your country to help you rise. I think it is commendable. And when you see a good thing, don't name it bad and hang it. You understand? And I think that every Ghanaian should be very happy about the fact that we have a finance minister who's been able, under these tough conditions, to convince some good people that, listen, Ghana is still a good place to invest. And I think in my Finance 101, which is finance, basic finance, one thing I was told by my doctor was that, listen, there's no bad time for a good investment. And what it means is that no matter how bad it is, in terms of how hard times may be, if the investment you're doing is good for the future, you better put it in. And why do I say that? Will Ghana put away education because of COVID impact? Or would we rather invest in our education because the future looks good? Will we put off all our health infrastructure development because of COVID? Or will we invest in it so that we'll be ready when all this conundrum is over to really benefit from the investment we did in bad times? And when I say in bad times, I'm not saying that the investment is bad, but the circumstance within which you are building your business is a tough terrain. But we believe that in the future, granted times are hard now, in the future, all of this investment will pay off and we'll be in a better position to refinance, to pay back our indebtedness. And I would repeat this, value for money, not necessarily the loan itself. What are we using it for? Is it for our future? And what I'm pleading with, it is difficult to quantify the quality and benefit of education when we looked at the Ministry of Education, the monies that went to educating our Ghanaian people, it is very difficult today to put a dollar amount and say that all of this several millions of dollars that we've paid to put, let me say, gumption, you know, that's what my English teacher would say, gumption or nyansa into people's heads. How can you quantify that? You quantify that when you end up in hospital and the doctor is a beneficiary of this. You quantify that when you get into a law room and you are fighting for your land and the lawyer is somebody who benefited from free SHS. You benefit when you go to your tailor and your tailor can give you the best design of clothing, which is better than anything you buy at Marks and Spencer in the UK. And then you realize that, yes, in fact, because of free SHS, now even your cocoa seller's business is doing well, because now the average cocoa seller in Ghana knows some basic free SHS. These are the ways in which we will see the benefits of all of these investments. And I beg to say this, that our president may be late when people start to realize the enormous property he has left Ghana. The best property anybody can leave you is knowledge, because with knowledge you can do so much. With little knowledge, when your house is bent, it is bent. You can't do much. But when you have that property here, you know how to rise up again and build yourself up, no matter what the challenges may have been. And I think that we have a leader for our time. The times we're in, there couldn't have been any better leader to take us to that promised land than our president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and his vice president, Dr. Bawumia. In fact, the best team that we've ever had in this country. And I must say that,
I'll say a Bonabas.
Bonabaso.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Right. Dr. Mansour, let me hear from you. I'll end with you, Dr. Achimpefu. Dr. Mansour, please. Yeah.
Factual presentation, partisan praise singing.
Yeah.
It's good. Well, I think it is good news if it is true that the sale is oversubscribed, the Eurobond sale is over. It's good news. And I think we should praise ourselves. It also tells us that we... It tells us that we have not at all succumbed to the full ravages of COVID, that in the midst of COVID, there is still hope. And if we are able to ensure such successes in a particular area, within the confines, in the period of COVID, then we should translate those successes to other areas. It tells us that there is hope for us to do well and for us to try as much as possible to do better. But then, what I want to add is that sometimes the success is one thing, and then the benefit of the success becomes another. So once we've been able to chalk these successes that have not been disputed by anybody, I haven't seen anybody that has disputed the claim. If indeed we have ensured those successes, then let the beneficiaries, that is Ghanaians, actually use those successes to the best interests of the Republic of Ghana. It is not just a matter of having the oversubscription. It is a matter of ensuring that in the end, the oversubscription will yield something that will enhance the quality of development.
Yeah.
So I am saying that we should try as much as possible to ensure that whatever we have gained from it is utilized in the supreme interest of the state,
people,
and not go into the pockets of politicians. Thank you.
Well, brilliant submission. Dr. Rashid Pepo is obviously not elated by some of the things that were said by Honorable Admiral Kisi. And no, I mean, he was very expressive about it. He said, you annoy people who, with the kind of things I say. I'm sure he's part of those people that you're annoying this morning. Honorable, why and how so?
We can disagree.
Well, I
upset.
I think that for any Ghanaian leader to be praised for taking loans or not taking loans, Nana and his vice president should not be praised for taking loans at all.
That's your decision. That's fine.
Why do we take loans? To use the loans to do investment, and everybody can see the investment. There are roads, there are school buildings, there are this. They have taken so much loans from the external. You see, let me give you a small analysis. General Rawlings took loans up to 4 billion when Kufuor came. Kufuor increased the loans to 7 billion. And then he rose it up to
Don't forget, population is increasing.
up to a certain figure. I can't remember the figure.
Oil, you know.
Then John Mahama and
Mills
came, rose it to 85.
Asset based.
Then this man came and rose. If you add what John Mahama, Atamil's President Rawlings left, what Kufuor left, what Mills left, what John Mahama left, put them all together, they are still less than the 291.
That was a non-oil-based economy.
It doesn't matter what the
it
economy
matters.
is.
Your assets have changed.
They are still more than this loan.
Your assets have
The
changed.
total loan they have taken now, and it's still counting, is still more than the four of them together put together. And you can find nothing happening.
Your assets have changed.
As much as we would have wished to see. And you go to take loans. When you began by saying that, look, you want to take government, there's money in Ghana, we don't need to go and take loans. I have worked at the World Bank, Bank of Ghana, I know there's money there. Why are you taking all these loans? And you've taken loans more than anybody, and you still want us to praise you for going to take much more loans. Do you know what Eurobond is? Eurobond is not this bilateral kind of relationship where you go to a country and then they give you a loan. No. It is a private arrangement where bonders in Europe would put their money in a bank, and then the bank will sort their permission and give the money to you, and you will pay with very, very, very high interest. It is not for people who just go and take the loan. It's for emergency projects that will bring you back some returns. You know, a project such as what we did.
If there are no hope for
Which
returns, don't give me
the
money.
The oil company.
Yeah.
We brought from
Tulu oil or which one?
We brought from Arab Emirates. You know, what's the name? Amari deal.
That's the power badges, right?
Yes, the power badges we brought. The Amari power badges we brought. It's not paid off by itself. It's amortizing.
Yeah.
The oil, the gas infrastructure we built by the Chinese, it's amortizing. It will build by itself. Those are things you can go and say we want loan. Then they give the loan. You build it. Then they pay back. But not these kind of people. Do you know what they did to the last Eurobond?
No.
They took 2.25 billion. In 2020, they took 3 billion. In 2021, they are taking 5 billion. What are they doing with it?
And yet you want to approve the finance.
And you are happy that, and you know why? You know why? We said, look, these your ministers, we don't want them.
But you approve them all.
Listen to me.
I'm listening.
We said, we don't want your ministers. They are not good for Ghana. They insist on that day, they are going to bring all their 138 people there. And then you vote and say, they have won. And say, okay. Or we say we don't want them. We've given you all the reasons. You still say you want them. Take them. 2024 Ghanaians will speak the language to you.
Oh, but Ghanaians already were expecting you to speak for them.
We spoke for them.
Do you know? How do you speak?
No. When you say this,
At the committee level,
you see,
you endorse Kenneth Ofori-Atta. Then at the committee level, you didn't even go to plenary.
No.
That's what happened.
You didn't read the report.
What was the report?
The report said that.
Doc, I'll come to you, please. Let me just hear this thing from Honorable.
The report, as projected, it was largely projected from Arona. And he said, look, we just don't accept you for these reasons. And he stated the reasons. One is that you are overborrowing. 2 is that you are utilizing the money. We don't know what you are using it for. And there are 6 reasons for which reason we think that we should have changed you. But your people insist that you are the one they want. And we...
Hold on, I just want to listen to
So, we have no reason to say that we have reached our limit. Our limit is that we have stated it publicly. We don't want you. In the yesterday again, we stated our reasons why we opposed the...
Atufor it, I think.
Yeah. We opposed his
candidature or whatever.
His
nomination.
COVID loans. We opposed it largely.
COVID levy.
COVID levy.
But then the committee approved eventually.
No. They will state in the opposition says we
But
don't
there was
approve.
unanimity.
But if
Oh no, please! I'm coming. I beg you.
Okay.
I just want to understand something from Honorable Dr. Rashid Peku, because Dr. Rashid Peku is telling me that the leadership said through Honorable Haruna Idrisu that we don't want you, but the people said they want you. Similarly, Hawa Kumsi, you didn't want her, but the people said they wanted Hawa Kumsi, but you took Hawa Kumsi to plenary.
So we are saying
What are you talking about?
we are saying that, look, this is the position. If we say these are bad people, we argued on the floor. He knows how much we argued. If you were listening, the kind of arguments we put,
there for too long.
we kept them up to 12 midnight. We said,
Are you happy about that?
well, we want to
Including Kenneth
tell,
Ofori-Atta.
we want you to listen. We want you to listen to the arguments so that you can make your minds. There's nothing you can do to a government that is in power that wants something. They will do everything to get it.
I see.
They brought all their people there to sit there. We counted our numbers. Our number was not up to the number. So we said, okay, take your turn.
So if you see, by this same analogy, if a government in power wanted a speakership, they would have gotten the speakership.
Yes.
Yes. But you got the speakership.
Yes.
You fought and got the speakership.
Yes.
Point is that you are not in parliament to represent yourselves as individuals.
Yes.
You are not in parliament to represent your interests as individuals.
Yes.
You are in parliament to represent the interests of your people. And there's no gainsaying the fact that, okay, and in fact, it goes without expression that your people at the grassroots level, that your people in your constituencies, that your people within the rank and file majority, and in mathematics, if you are doing sample survey,
the mistake you
and
guys are
6
making
out
is
of
that
10 people are in support of something, you generalize it.
the mistake
The majority of your people were not.
He represents both MPP and NDC in his constituency. Kwame.
But the point I'm making is that
So-
if you have
so-
100 people
let
and
me-
70 people, hold on, and 70 people support something, 30 people are against it, what do you do?
Let me tell
You approve it.
Let me
because
come in here.
you
you
support
cannot
it.
want democracy and not want all of it. Part of the democracy that you want is that people should be independent in their thoughts.
Yeah,
So
but
when you open up,
independence-
when you open
independence-
up something for them to express their wish, some will say this, which is annoying. Others will say that, which will be acceptable.
Kwame, there's something beautiful that happened. Let me help you.
I'll
out.
come to you.
Today,
I will come to you.
I
but-
was thinking about one thing, I was saying that finance minister being ill for a little bit was somewhat of a blessing in disguise. Why do I say that? When the quote-unquote opposition went through the committees and looked at most of the budgets, one thing that kept ringing a bell was that there isn't enough money for projects that are very important. I think you would agree with me that many of them said, why is capital expenditure reduced? It's zero in most places. And even yesterday, Honorable Abu Jinapor was pushing hard that the road minister gets more financing to help with our road infrastructure. True or false?
It's true.
So the beauty, like I said, in the absence of the finance minister, as we all went through the nitty-gritties of the budget, what became so obvious was that, Charlie, it has been...
They don't have money.
I mean,
And the reason is that... No, let me explain to you.
You haven't gone in total.
The Constitution...
You have to go in depth, and then you come to the realization.
The Constitution,
has
spelled out what makes a person qualified to be a minister. It doesn't say that if you run an economy and the economy is not good for some people, rule him out. It's not one of them. So these are not reasons for you to go to the floor of parliament and say, we don't want you. You can't have the reasons. The reasons are specific. You are not normal. You are
below 18.
You have been criminalized. Yeah. You are below the age, and etc. etc. So those are the ones stuck in front of every member of the committee when you go to vet somebody. The others are, you have not been able to run an economy. It's an opinion, and I'll say I've run it well. I did it well. And the government comes to, he did it well. That's what we want. That's our policy. The people voted for us. They said we should do it that way.
The mandate.
So you are alone saying that you don't like the man. They are there saying they like the man. So the alternative, the mistake people are making is that they think that when you oppose him at the vetting committee or the appointment committee, he's finished. He's not finished. You can say you don't like him. They say, okay, let's go to the chamber. Then all of you go and vote about it.
And
so you look at all these things and then you realize that, look, the people, whatever they do, they say they want that.
This portends an unforeseeable danger. What you're saying?
Come in.
Because you see, if you are saying that, the basis and for the constitutional provisions are there. Right? That somebody must be sane, must be 18, must be a Ghanaian, blah, 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 blah. All of those things must qualify a person.
It must be appointed by the president.
Appointed by the president. Granted. Then why do you do vetting?
To find out.
To find out what? Because you're telling me here.
Look.
You don't need a vetting to establish that person is 18 years.
No.
You don't need vetting to establish that person was nominated by the president.
You need vetting to understand the person.
Then why do you ask all of these unnecessary tangential questions about the person's performance? About what is the definition of fish farming? How does that go to do with the constitution?
That helps you to get to understand the person.
Understand what? Then what will happen?
But that's what you are looking for. You want the person to be understood by the people. For the first time, you are here now saying that there was nobody who cannot define fishing. You now know the kind of minister you are.
And what has that done for me? My knowledge of the fact that somebody cannot define fish farming.
So you
say that if you cannot define fishing, you can't become a minister.
No, but that's what you are telling me.
But that's what you are always saying. But I'm saying that
a group of people.
I don't want to be seen defending anybody.
This is very important.
I'm not defending anybody. In fact, left to me alone, we'll sack all the ministers, go and bring new ones.
You know what I think?
Yes.
You know what I think?
Let me tell you something.
I think that we should get to a point where we'll give you people targets. And you have to meet your target. Failure to meet your target within the first quarter, you are fired. Because you see,
you can't be fired. You can't fire.
And I think that we need to change the constitution for people to be fired. Because you see, you are taking us for a ride. You are telling me here now, Honorable is telling me that by reason of somebody's inability to define fish farming, am I saying that the person is not qualified?
I'm asking you.
You're asking me. That's what I'm saying. You're asking me. And I'm saying that if you had a company and somebody came and you ask the person a question in relation to the job that the person is coming for, and the person fails to even have an understanding, a basic idea of the job that you are giving to them, would you give the person the job?
I will discuss the guarantee.
Let me get there. That's my small bit. My small bit. When it comes to even succession planning, some parents decide on something so unusual because they think that they can leave the property in this person's hand and this person can do far better than the other. Let me tell you that there are so many things you look at. Human relationship, very important. How the person is very careful with money spending, very important. Financial, physical discipline. You know, there's so many things. One thing does not overpower everything. And I think that there's more to the story than meets your eyes.
Right.
Because, like I said, initially, some people had some perceptions that, hey, the budget was so bloated, until they go into the various agencies and what they need to do, you know, and then they realize that, and I kept hearing, oh, but the money is not enough. And this was from the oppositional, quote unquote, not even from the MPP side. They kept saying, after they had gone through the rigorous exercise of hearing from executives from the various, and these are not politicians, mind you, these are people manning the various agencies in this country, technocrats.
Let me now
And I'll plead with you.
You only respond to me now. My time is up.
I'm
I'll
saying
give you
that
the
our time
opportunity.
is up.
Our time is up. I'll not be fair to you, I know. Yeah.
I'm saying that for NDC, you see all the ministers who are there, except a few of them, if we had the power, we will change them.
Okay.
In fact, for us, they have not achieved
The
what we want.
137 is
And
painful. It's
that
painful.
tells you
It's painful.
that tells you why they nearly lost the elections, and then there was some undercut dealings, and you find them still there because we think that
We've
they
gone
have
to
failed.
court and settled though. 7-0. That one, don't go
we think
back
that
to
they
it.
have failed Ghanaians, and that those
7-0.
ministers should not be there. But a failed minister proposed by the president cannot be said to be a minister who should fail vetting. If it is not proven by court, by a commission set up by the president, that he has failed, those are all allegations. And for us, the allegations are serious. We could have disqualified them because of that. But fortunately for them, they have one more than us, and they will always approve
At
them.
the committee level?
Committee has nothing.
The
You
co-
see,
listen, Kwame, the committee
we are, I'm not in parliament,
Oh,
but I
The
know the process.
committee has no value. I'm telling you.
Granted.
What
How
is the-
come that, you see, you are saying the committee has no value, but it's not true.
It is not.
The committee cannot the committee has value because you see, why is it that Abu Jinapor did not come to plenary for voting?
Oh,
Why? Because it was approved by the committee.
What do you
Why is Abu Jinapor?
Abu Jinapor.
They come to the chamber.
Let me tell you,
Samuel Jinapor.
Yes, Samuel. Yes.
What he came.
he was there. The two of them were there.
No, you're not getting
The
what I'm
two of them
saying.
were there.
After, okay, so for
You see,
instance,
the
I come to the
mistake-
committee.
the mistake people are making is
I
that-
come to the committee. I meet the committee.
Yes.
Then per the recommendations of the committee, I'm approved.
Yeah.
What happens?
You can get filled.
They bring it back. It doesn't matter. They still bring it as if you were not proved.
Yeah.
They still bring
The
it to the
committee is not
chamber.
final. It's the chamber that's final.
The chamber is the
So
one
the
that
chamber
is
votes
final.
on everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah. So what
They
they say,
voted on
everybody.
all of them. Yes.
That's why we left around 4 a.m. the last time we did.
They voted on every single one of them.
All right, I get it.
For
But
every-
the recommendation by the committee plays some significant.
It may hold. It may not
Only
hold.
in the public. But essentially, when it is brought there, it's a new thing.
Yeah.
People argue.
But I'm saying that in principle, in practice, the
In the
recommendation by the
minds of
committee.
those who are watching and hearing, they say, oh, the committee has not approved him. I see he can also be disapproved by the House. You go to the House, even the side where there's a disapproval, somebody will get up and say, no, I think your argument is wrong.
Okay, right.
Several times we have argued against our own selves. MPP has argued against themselves. We have argued against ourselves because that is the nature of Parliament.
All right.
So the
So
committee
the House-
only makes recommendations.
Yeah.
It's important by making recommendations.
And then
those
that's-
recommendations are not binding.
Okay, but you don't factor those recommendations into
the final approval.
Some voters would.
It's a
not
debate.
Some
It's a
voters
debate.
would.
Okay.
Some
Nobody
voters
even.
would.
Some people don't even. They will look at they say this is nonsense.
Okay,
And then they will argue on what they
Okay,
believe.
What
in.
they believe.
Hey, see this MPs, they are rushing me for you.
Today,
Yes.
you have given the politicians more time than the
No,
people.
because respectfully,
Kwame,
it has to
yes,
do with them.
you can now-
Our time is up.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm wrapping up. Just
Yes.
let me give him a few seconds.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that I think we have learned a lesson. By their explanation, I am proposing that the vetting committee should be outside Parliament, that's my proposal, so that we do not observe what I think is the parliamentary loyalty, solidarity, inter-party parliamentary solidarity. And when we have a vetting committee outside Parliament, that committee should be empowered enough to do proper investigation.
Do you know they
based
bring,
on no
they bring
lawyer.
questions from
Just
their
a minute.
constituents
Yeah,
to the veteran?
Just a minute.
That is how I'm just showing you how.
Let's
conclude. Let's
let those questions go
Because
to
of
that
time.
non-parliamentary committee.
Yeah.
So that at least there should be a kind of independence
Yeah.
outside Parliament, and then at the end of the day, we can have a decision that reflects the will of the people. Two, the vetting committee should be scrapped, since by their own words it's of no value.
No, it's almost
If it
like
is-
it's almost
if it
like
is-
saying that you don't.
if it is-
Decision
if
of
it is-
who becomes what happens.
If it is
the value is with the people.
if it is-
the majority of voters, members in the.
No, that's what I'm saying. If at the end of the day it is the plenary that takes the decision, then why don't we even scrap that committee?
No.
But we want to know the people.
They reduce our concerns.
So if you want to
going
know
through some of the
people,
things.
you see that they still don't want me to talk.
These parliamentarians.
Yeah. If you still want to know the
can't touch the head grasher, you
people,
can't
then
touch
of
all the
course.
things. So let's do
So
it.
Kwame, let me conclude.
Yes.
Then of course I am emphasizing that there must be a committee outside Parliament
Okay.
to put them to order.
We do that
and to
here.
ensure
Okay.
that whatever
The
decision is
committee cannot
taken.
put members of Parliament
Yes,
to order.
yes. No,
Sir,
if
these
we
are-
agree,
Duties of the people. Nobody can put us order.
Okay.
parliamentary supremacy.
Thank you
right?
very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Rashid Purple. Thank you very much, Dr. Abokisi MP for Anyaso to constituency. And thank you very much, Dr. Marzu, for your time. As for Dr. Rashid, everybody knows your constituency. I need to hammer so people will know.
Yes,
what's
yes, yes.
going on.
Anyaso.
All right. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a nice day. God bless. Bye.
But today he was hard on us.
Every day, he has a drink filled with malt. Every day, he has a drink filled with malt and milk. Every day, he has a drink filled with malt, milk, and cocoa. Every day, he needs the nutritious goodness of Milo. Milo, the energy to go further. This advert is FDA approved. Every day, he looks after his brother and chases a bus. Every day he looks after his brother, chases a bus, and learns new things. Every day he looks after his brother, chases a bus, learns new things, and gets back home. Every day he looks after his brother, chases a bus, learns new things, gets back home, and helps his mom. Phew. That's why every day he needs his cup of Milo filled with the nutritious goodness of malt, milk, and cocoa. Milo, the energy to go further.
From Nestle.
This advert is FDA approved.
Hello?
Oh, sound.
Okay, Tinka. Why? My wife comes and send a message you. Your face is going to move. Hello? I didn't know. What's happened?
It's a chunk who's will be a quiet say what? I dare say,
We signed for a friend. I'm so young. You was not testing messages here. And now, officer, so I'm still like Diana. She says, I'm going to
I mean, him say we a guy man, and may young who could look ra. And also wants a family drilling company limited for Kana.
What's it then? Family Dwelling Company Limited.
Ye two borehole, biofuel, biogas, swimming pool, plumbing works in Naso, ye be, Frey 0240 333 111 and NASA 0244 144 822.
Me and Pa and Net. You want to do me fee? Me want to. You be here. Family dwelling. Family dwelling. Me out with that.
Oh, it's incredible! Bang on target!
Today, we can trust sources of water anymore. Confidence is gone.
you to you.